USCHO.com. This is the USCHO Spotlight, a weekly podcast from U.S. College Hockey Online at USCHO.com, featuring conversations with college hockey coaches and players and journalists who cover the sport.
This is USCHO Spotlight Season 2, Episode 1, being recorded on Wednesday, October 9th, 2019. I'm Ed Trefzger alongside Jim Connelly. Jim, it's good to be back with Spotlight, and it's great to talk to one of the successful young head coaches in Division I.
And our first guest of the year on Spotlight is Denver head coach David Carle. His team traveled all the way up to Fairbanks, Alaska last weekend and pulled out 2 victories, a 4-3 win on Saturday, a 3-0 win on Sunday. David, thanks for joining us. A nice weekend to start, albeit a long ways from home.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, it was. It was, it was a good way to start. Both of us, Fairbanks and obviously us at Denver, we didn't have the luxury of playing an exhibition game as some other teams in the country did. And so I think you saw, it was a little bit difficult, I think, to play a real game the first weekend of the year, but we're real happy with the results. Saturday was a really close game, could have gone either way. And Sunday, I think both teams improved defensively. We found a way to make a couple more plays in and around the net than they did. So, I mean, it was a good way to start the year, certainly, and a good time to go up to Alaska early in the year.
You're making this kind of a long start on the road, heading right from Alaska. You're now in Detroit as we speak, but heading up to Lake Superior for games on Friday, Saturday. You kept the team on the road. What was the thinking behind doing that for the, I guess it's about 10, 11 days that you start on the road?
Yeah, it wasn't an easy decision, but when we looked at the travel, playing Fairbanks on Saturday and Sunday, looking at how early we could get back on Monday to Denver, and then how quickly we'd have to turn around and head to Sault Ste. Marie. We probably would have got back Monday afternoon and had to leave Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday evening. So for us, it just made sense to stay on the road, communicate with our guys' professors, and make sure that we have plenty of study time and stuff like that here on the road. We also looked at the Red Wings schedule, and fortunate enough to be able to go to the game last night and watch Troy Terry play for Anaheim against the Wings. And so I think that made it a little bit easier too, seeing the venue that we want to end our year at here in Detroit at Little Caesars Arena, and getting to hang out with an alumni and watch him play was a big part of staying on the road as well.
Your team this year, let's talk a little bit about them. I guess, we always focus a little bit on what, teams lose, and your club, a great Frozen 14 from a year ago. You lost one of the better forwards in college hockey in Jared Lukasavages, and also one of the better goaltenders in Philip Larssons. A little bit about just how you fill those holes, but also maybe what other players you expect to develop this year to take over some of the leadership roles on this team.
Yeah, both those guys and also Colin Staub played a huge role on our team last year in getting us to where we did. I think, when you look at losses, we really lose 4 players off of last year's team. And when you compare that to the year before when we lost 5 underclassmen alone, plus 4 seniors, it really doesn't compare. So we feel pretty fortunate to only have lost 4 players off of our Frozen 14 a year ago. And with that, we have a lot of people coming back. We had 19 freshmen and sophomores last year that are now sophomores and juniors. And so we expect a lot of those guys to continue to take steps in their game. You see a lot of growth in those 2 years for our players. So, we expect a lot of guys to continue to grow and make more contributions, and certainly help fill the void of losing the 4 that we lost. And from a leadership perspective, Ian Mitchell coming back as a junior as our captain, and an unbelievable person, very selfless, respectful of his teammates, and then 2 other seniors, Michael Davies and Tyson McClellan, who have been through a lot in our program, been to a couple Frozen Fours, won a national championship. So we like our leadership group, and certainly everyone that's coming back.
Take us through some of the freshmen, maybe, David. Who do you feel is ready, mature enough to step in and have an impact on this team?
Yeah, well, Magnus Krona, freshman goalie, he started both games this past weekend and showed a lot of growth from game 1 to game 2. And, he looks like he's getting well adapted to college hockey. On the back end, Justin Lee played both games over the weekend, coming out of Lincoln, kid from Manitoba, has done real well. And then up front, I think a lot of people are going to talk about Hank Crone and Bobby Brink and just what they add from a talent perspective to our forward group, and I think make us more dynamic in our top 6. So both guys can make plays, both guys can finish, and I think they add a lot of offensive punch to our team, which needed it. We would like to score more goals at times last year, and I think those 2 guys are going to help us this year.
This is the USCHO Spotlight podcast. We're talking with David Carle from Denver. And David, last year, a Frozen Four appearance for your team, an overtime goal away from going to the national title game. What did your club and maybe even you as a first-year head coach take away from those experiences? What were some of the lessons learned and that you can hopefully use, if not this year, many times more in the future?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for us last year, it was so much just trying to stay in the moment, stay present in what we were doing in our locker room and in practice every day that gave us the opportunity to play in big events. And so I think, I think that's indicative of every successful team is their ability to stay present and focus on the task at hand. And that doesn't even, I wouldn't even say one game at a time, but it's one practice at a time, and just making sure that you're getting your work in and you're getting high value out of it. And I think that's what our team did so well last year. We were a much different team, I think, in April than we were in October. And I think that was a lot to do with how we focused every day and prepared day in and day out in practice.
When you look at yourself, obviously a first-year head coach, was it everything you expected? Were there a few things along the line that you came in and said, wow, wasn't thinking about that, wasn't expecting that you had to kind of read and react on the fly to?
Yeah, I think moments certainly present themselves. I've learned to expect the unexpected, and that's from my time, being an assistant with George and Monty and Derek Lalonde. And so I've been real fortunate to have really good mentors. And then, the staff that I have here at Denver, Dallas Ferguson and Tavis McMillan, and last year, Stephen Reinprecht and Ben Scrivens. I mean, I don't think I could have surrounded myself with more experience and, people that are smarter than me and have seen more situations than I have. So I wouldn't say a lot surprised our staff last year, but I'm just real fortunate to have people around me that have seen different things to help me and our team through some of those unexpected challenges that arise every year. Every year is very different, and you need good people around you to have success.
More with Denver head coach David Carle in a moment.
This is the USCHO Spotlight, a weekly podcast from US College Hockey Online.
We're speaking with Denver head coach David Carle. One of our other guests this week on a different episode of our podcast is Jerry York. And he got started as a head coach right about the same age as you, starting as head coach at Denver. This may not even be something you've thought about, but what are your thoughts on somebody having a career of that many years behind the bench? Is that something that you could even fathom at this point?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't. I've gotten to know Jerry a little bit here now over the last year, and obviously I have a lot of respect for everything he's done in his career, but I don't think you get into it thinking that you're going to do it that long and be that successful. I mean, you have hopes and dreams to do it, but, for me, it's, trying to focus 1 year at a time. And, what he's done is I don't think we'll ever see anything replicated that way in college hockey. It's really impressive that he's done it and he's done it the right way. And, certainly a mentor to many and someone that we can all look up to.
Now that you have this first year under your belt, what is the best part of the job of being the head coach at Denver?
I enjoy the weekly preparation of trying to help our team get ready to have success on the weekend. I think that's, for me, the most enjoyable part, watching video, trying to, look at things we need to do better and try and expose things in our opponents that we think we can take advantage of. And all the while trying to, obviously help our players develop as hockey players and as people, and exposing them to different challenges and trying to help them through those. And so I just, the whole idea of growth week to week for the team and for players is really exciting to me.
And on the opposite side of the coin, what's the most difficult part of the job?
It's a good question. Probably, I think it's for most people, you worry about the unknown at times, and and trying to always focus on just the things that you can control and not wasting mental energy on things you can't. So I think that's probably the hardest thing, and that's indicative of probably most people in life and in their careers is nobody likes the unknown, and so I think that would be the biggest thing.
Arguably, from top to bottom, the NCHC is the best, or at least one of the top couple conferences in college hockey. Certainly, the success with the national championships is part of that. Having seen the league from the beginning to now, what's your assessment of the league, its overall strength, and the difficulty of playing from night to night in conference?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I'm probably more partial than you are. I don't think it's close. What the best conference is, and I think the proof is in the pudding there with our non-conference records and the national championships. But I think the biggest thing is I get a sense in our league that as fierce and competitive it is on the ice, off the ice, for the most part, we all get along really well. We all want the league to do well. We all cheer for each other when we're playing non-conference opponents. And we look after one another, I think. And so I think that's been really paramount to our league success. And then when we get on the ice, we all compete at a really high level and I think make each other better throughout the year. And, we've all said it many times, when the national tournament comes around, it's nice that we don't have to play someone from our conference, because we know how big of a grind it is. And also we're playing at a different pace and a different level than most other conferences in the country. And I think that's why you've seen our league do so well in the first round of the national tournament, why our non-conference records are so well, and why we've had so many Frozen Four participants in the last, since our league's inception.
Talking with David Carle from Denver. And David, before we let you go, this weekend, Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan is the destination. You're going to play a Lake Superior team that's coming off of 2 wins themselves, a weekend sweep of Merrimack at home. What have you learned about this Lakers team, and what are some of the challenges you think you'll face?
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the older teams in college hockey. They got some real big forwards that like to possess the puck down low and try and wear you down defensively that way. And they're good in offensive transition. They get the puck up the ice quickly. They got a couple little D-men that can move the puck and get involved in the offense. So obviously a team with a lot of confidence coming off a home sweep against Merrimack. And it'll be a really good challenge for us with the road trip and all of that. So we're looking forward to it.
I'm sure by now your guys, if there wasn't the bonding that you hope to have in a team after, I guess now it's been almost a full week on the road, that bonding has started to occur.
Yeah, no, it certainly has. We've spent a lot of time together. So the guys are in good spirits, and certainly they're with each other a lot.
Well, that's really fun. David, well, we appreciate your time. We wish you the best of luck the rest of the way. But thanks so much for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate having me on.
That's Denver head coach David Carle here on USCHO Spotlight. Jim, we talked about David being a head coach at a young age, much like Jerry York. And like Jerry York, he had some great mentorship. Who could you ask for as better coaches to serve with than George Gwozdecki and Jim Montgomery at Denver?
Yeah, I think that's really fantastic. And a guy, he took over the reins last year at age 28. Immediately had success, which that, if you have any doubts about yourself, and I don't think you listen to him, he sounds like a very confident man. But if you have any doubts, they quickly get erased when you get to a Frozen Four and really close to a national title game like he did with his team last year. And, I think that that's a great building block. And you heard, some of the lessons he takes out of it. And, I like it's kind of a more modern thought, but really just staying in the moment. He didn't talk about one game at a time. He talked about one practice at a time. And I mean, that you really understand that a coach has an understanding for what he's doing and what the real philosophy has to be behind building the careers of student athletes when you're talking about bringing it down to such a micro level. And he does that, it seems, very well. And listen, if his team this year and teams going forward play anything like his team last year, they're going to be a real pleasure to watch. I just think he's such a well-spoken young man. And, I guess you and I can say that because we must feel like he's really young. But, a 29-year-old head coach, he seems to have his stuff together.
Yeah, and he has done something that is key to being successful, too, which is to put together a good staff. And with the experienced guys like Tavis McMillan and Dallas Ferguson alongside him, that is a great coaching staff there for the Pioneers.
I think that's one of the most important things when you're a young head coach is to surround yourself with the right people. And as he listed off that entire staff, he's done that in spades, and that's going to help him build a program or continue to build what has been a successful program, continue to have that success.
One last thing that I was fascinated by was his discussion of the camaraderie and support among the programs in the NCHC. I know that Josh Fenton has really fostered the brand and the development there, but to hear that at the coaching level is also interesting.
Yeah, and I think that has been one of the biggest successes of this league. And it reminds me of when Hockey East started back in the mid-'80s, and everybody was rah-rah Hockey East, Hockey East, Hockey East. And the Hockey East brand almost was more important than your own school's brand. The NCHC definitely carries that on and maybe does it even better because over the years, Hockey East and every other conference in the country has become more about the school. And listen, every school wants to be up front, but I do feel like the 8 institutions within the NCHC to this point still really do pound that league brand, and they do a great job with the league messaging. I think that's when you believe as a conference, every one of your teams that you're good, every one of those teams will be good. I firmly believe that.
Well, that's going to do it for USCHO Spotlight for this week. It's one of 3 podcasts we do every week. Check out Weekend Review at the beginning of the week and Game of the Week at the end of the week. You can find all of them at uscho.com/podcast, where you can listen or subscribe. For Jim Connelly, I'm Ed Trefzger. We'll catch you next time.
This has been the USCHO Spotlight, a production of U.S. College Hockey Online. Visit uscho.com/podcasts to listen or subscribe.